Media relations is an incredible part of public relations. In the digital-first age, where things like the news release, a tool used in media relations, is 100% digital, there are best practices that we can keep in mind to elevate our media relations work. Here are 5 takeaways from Deirdre Breckenridge's book, Answers for Modern Communicators. Tip number 1, know who you're pitching to. In media relations, public relations professionals must know that mass mailing journalists, for example, is not enough, and in many circumstances is not recommended. According to Breckenridge, you must know the journalist, reporter, blogger, or whomever you are trying to pitch to on a deeper level. This includes reading as many of their stories as you can, finding out how they like to learn and be reached, and connecting and engaging with them and making yourself available as a resource to them. According to Answers for Modern Communicators, we must, quote, engage with journalists and their communities. Be a part of the meaningful conversation. Share their stories with your network and tag them in your posts or @mention them in your tweets. Tip number 2, position yourself, brand, or company as thought leaders. More often than not, through our work, we gain innate knowledge of particular subject matter and fields. We have the ability to help others understand it because we need to understand it ourselves. This is how you, your executives, and your company can not only be an asset to journalists, but how you can make yourselves a leader in this space. Journalists often write stories where there needs to be an authoritative voice. You can be that voice. Breckenridge writes, quote, the media and bloggers want to form long-term relationships with professionals who can offer expert commentary, especially when there is breaking news or when hot topics bubble up quickly. Tip number 3, stick to the basics. While we cannot control whether or not news coverage will be favorable, there are basic things that we can apply in order to handle any situation. Some best practices when it comes to sticking to the basics include breathing and gathering all the facts calmly, being transparent, using your words carefully, and, quote, never letting them see you sweat. While this may seem obvious, media relations practitioners can face pressure from other executives in the company who might not be well versed in the theory of public relations. We must put on our journalistic hats and find angles that work. For example, is this something that's timely, something that's close to where the journalist is based? Is it something that is strange or out of the blue? These are questions we must ask and more. Quote, you know the difference between a compelling story your customers would find exciting versus one that has no relevance to their lives. In this case, trust your instincts, writes Breckenridge. Tip number 5, measure, measure, measure. In order to be able to distinguish what works and what didn't work, you must be able to quantify your efforts and compare them to other efforts you might make or will make in the future. Some indications of a job well done include a lot of media coverage, positive media coverage in fact, fewer complaints from customers, heightened brand awareness, motivated employees, happy executives, and bigger financial gains, especially if your company is publicly traded. And while there's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to media relations, these 5 tips can set you apart when it comes to your competition